Hello everyone, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto's cold heart burned even fire? Naruto x Sasuke, Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Prologue. Disclaimer. We do not own Naruto. Both all we own the few issues of Shonen Jump that have been released so far. Rin. This here is gonna be a tad bit odd. We just came up with the idea, like, a whole 2 minutes ago. Yami jumped at it literally, and so we decided to write it. Yami Rin. You see, this FIC is a major angst FIC, YESSSS. XD. And it will be just a little bit on the weird side. Oh, just as a note, we've only read the manga up to the end of the second stage of the Chunin exam and we've only seen up to the start of the second stage of the Chunin, as that's spelled right. Exam in the anime. I think. Rin. Yes, that is all that we've seen, unfortunately. So, please, don't mind it. The thing is, we're gonna change the storyline, just a little. And we wanna know how good we've managed to do that without completely screwing over the beautiful reputation of Naruto. We know about the different characters pretty well, so I don't think we'll do that bad of a job. I hope. Yami Rin. Anyway, on with the FIC. XDDDDDDDD. Summary. Naruto is harassed by Gaara one day. Over the course of the following week, the panda-eyed boy doesn't let up, and is scaring Naruto just a little. Naruto goes to Sasuke, for an unknown *****. Hint. Reason. Things to know. 1. The authoresses are crazy. 2. Naruto will be acting like a little girl in this FIC maybe. 3. Blah blah equals author's notes. 4. Blah blah equals speech. 5. A lot of s equals change of scene, or end of chapters. // Warning. This FIC will contain shonenai in later chapters. For those who don't know what that is, it's boy love. Sasunaru and one-sided Gaara, Naruto. Will also contain Kakeru. Maybe some graphic stuff, too. // Rin. This is gonna be from Naruto's POV. Yami Rin. Just this chapter though. The whole FIC is gonna have a whole lot of switched around POVs. Just so you wonderful readers don't get confused, we'll tell ya who's narrating. Rin. Oh, Yami, you're starting to sound like me, and that's scary. // My odd new attempt at writing a Naruto fic by Rin Lockhart and Yami Rin. // Prologue. Naruto's POV. Gaara. The freak boy from the Sand Continent. The one with the screwed up eyes, crimson hair, and symbol on his forehead. That's all he was to me. But I think he saw me as a little bit more. Scratch that, he saw me as a lot more. I actually didn't have a clue he liked me until about 3 weeks before the start of the Chunin exam. Me, Sasuke, Sakura-chan, and Kakashi-sensei had just returned from our mission with Tazuna and we were all really tired from walking all the way home. Kakashi-sensei said that we should all go home and get some rest, because the following day we would have to prepare to welcome and meet all the other shinobi who were going to be coming to Konoha for the exam. All 4 of us headed off in different directions, each too lost in our own thoughts to mutter any more than as a goodbye. Upon parting ways with my teammates, my thought immediately shot to Sasuke. Near the end of the mission, we were once again attacked by Zabuza, but this time he had the supposed hunter Nin, Haku, to help him out. That stupid girl look-alike had done a jutsu to create a whole bunch of mirrors. At one point in the fight, Haku shot a swarm of needles at me and, me being me, I just stood there like a retard. I got the shock of my life when Sasuke jumped in front of the shot and saved me. I remember with distinct clarity exactly how he had fallen into my arms, lifelessly, and me asking him over and over why he had done that. He merely smiled up at me before going limp and dying. I found out, after I had turned all demon fox for a minute, that Sasuke hadn't really died, as I first thought he had. He was just kind of dead for an hour or two. After that mission, I never thought of Sasuke the same way again. I started to consider him a friend and then something more. I started to think of him in ways that I shouldn't have been. Every time I was around him I would go all lightheaded and feel as if I was gonna faint or something. I know, I'm starting to sound like a girl. But hey, so sue me. But anyway, on the walk home is when the big incident, as I so affectionately notice the sarcasm on this word, call it, happened. The sky was a deep navy color and I was just idly walking through one of the many back alleys of the town. It was a shortcut home for me, minding my own business, thinking about Sasuke, when I felt this foreign chakra behind me. It was only faint, mind you, because I'm not as good with chakra as, say, Sakura-chan is, but I could feel it nonetheless. I swerved around, expecting to see at least some living thing there, but I didn't see anything. I could still feel the chakra of someone else though. That tingling feeling was hard to mix up with something else. But I thought, for the moment anyway, that it was merely caused due to me thinking so much about Sasuke. I turned back around and was about to continue walking when I came face to face, or face to chin, with Gaara. Of course, I didn't know his name at this point in time, but that's beside the point. I was forced to look up to be able to look into his eyes properly, as I'm so damn short, and what I saw was endless pools of deep aquamarine. I stood there hypnotized for a minute before I realized just how close he was. If I had wanted to, I could have reached out my arm, even in the slightest, and I would have been able to touch his arm. It really freaked me out. Jumping back with a yelp, I reached for a kunai. I had just brushed one with my fingertip when he grabbed me by the wrists and flung me against the wall. I had cried out in pain as my back made contact with the brick wall. My eyes opened to slits and then to wide circles as he pinned my arms above my head. He pressed himself against me and breathed hotly into one of my ears. I forget which one, as I was too concerned with what the hell he was doing then to where he was doing it. His crimson hair obscured my vision as he whispered to me, "We finally meet, Demon Fox. You have no idea how long I have been awaiting this night." His tongue then came out of his mouth and licked my ear, curving around the top of it. My mouth went dry and I felt sick. How the hell did he know I was the Demon Fox? And what the hell did he think he was doing, licking my ear like that? Using some strength that I suspected came from fear, I wrenched one of my wrists free and pushed him off, resulting in him letting go of my other wrist. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I yelled at him, when I was sure he was at least a good 5 feet away. "And who in the name of Hokage are you, ya freak?" He seemed unfazed by my outburst. He only smiled at me before replying, "I am merely fulfilling what was meant to be, am I? And as for who I am Gaara." His voice sent chills down my spine, and the good kind that Sasuke caused, but the kind that you get when something scares you that much. And I don't like to be scared. I've been scared all of my life, because I'm hated and loathed. And all because of chance. I didn't have to be the one the Demon Fox was sealed into. It was just by chance that I was chosen. Anger coursed through me as I realized what he had called me. "Where do you get off on calling me sweet, you panda-eyed freak? No one's allowed to call me sweet. Bastard." Again he seemed unfazed. He took a step towards me and I took 2 steps back. There was definitely something wrong with that guy, and I wasn't about to stick around to find out exactly what it was. So before he could do or say anything else, I turned tail and ran out of the alley, back the way I came, deciding to take the long way home. I stopped running about 15 minutes later, when I was sure that I wasn't being followed. I slowed my walk to a trot, vaguely trying to catch my breath. I felt a droplet of sweat slid down the side of my face and I wiped it away with the back of my hand. Damn that guy. Gaara or something. Whatever. I just wanted to get home and sleep. I was basically dead on my feet and running from Gaara or whatever didn't exactly help all that much. As I walked up the steps to the ninja apartment was living in, I once again felt that faint chakra. Fear coursed through me again, but it vanished just as the chakra did a moment later. Shrugging, I proceeded to walk up the steps and down the sort of long hallway to where the door to my own small apartment was. My thoughts kept traveling to Gaara as I walked the length of the hallway. That stupid panda-eyed git. Grr. I just couldn't get my mind off him. Him and his weirdo eyebrow-less head. What a freak. I muttered as I turned the key in the lock. Sometimes I wonder why I lock the door. It's not like anyone'll want to break into my house anyway. I have no valuables. And I have no one I'd invite in, either, unless you count Iruka-sensei. Unless they want to trash it. Then that's a totally different story. When I shut the door again, inside the house, I bolted it and turned. In the utter blackness, I didn't notice the black figure standing just next to the door, directly behind me until it wrapped its lanky arms around my middle and pulled me to it. I immediately struggled as a first instinct, but the figure lifted me off of the floor with great ease. I hate being short. For a reason I still have to figure out, I was thrown into the air slightly, just out of the arms, grasp, and then caught again when I was facing the figure's direction. I looked into the figure's eyes and I saw aquamarine eyes. I gasped aloud when I realized that I was, once again, looking into the face of Gaara. He looks as if he'd kill me at any second, and that scares the hell out of me, even though I'm used to it. His eyes are pouring into mine with such intensity that I think he's trying to see inside my head. He nuzzled his face into my neck and I let out a small squeak. Why do you run from me, Kyuubi? He asked, the softness of his voice totally betraying his appearance. This guy is completely throwing me off whack. First, he's all rough and tough, and now he's being all gentle, sort of. It seriously freaked me out. Gaara thought I was what? Just going to run into his arms, or something. The guy really is psycho. I am not gay. Wait a minute, I like Sasuke so, damn it. I hated when I correct myself. I started to squirm again when I felt him place a kiss on the side of my neck. What did he think he was doing? I haven't a clue as to how, but I managed to wriggle my way out of his vice-like grip on me. Or maybe he just let me go. I have no idea, but when I turned to face him he wasn't there anymore. What the hell is this? I asked myself. I trembled just a smidgen and ran to the door. I flung it open and ran all the way down the hallway and out of the building. I totally forgot to shut the door, but I didn't really care at the moment. I didn't want to stay at my own apartment tonight, but I also didn't want to be found by Gaara in the middle of a deserted street. That would seriously suck. Yes, that it would. So I started running to the closest teammates' home. It just happened to be Sasuke's. Couldn't have been Sakura's house. Not that she'd let me in anyway. A rustle to the left of me made me realize that I'd stopped running and had come to a complete stop. Once again getting a little bit, only a little, freaked out, I continued on to Sasuke's place. It wasn't really that long of a trip, but it seemed like an eternity to me because of the consistent rustling made from the trees above me. I started out in a walk, and that turned into a jog, and then that turned into a run, all the way until I was practically sprinting the rest of the way to Sasuke's. That was really starting to freak me out. Jesus, someone up there didn't like me, I can tell you that. I ran up the stairs to Uchiha's apartment, tripping a few times in the process, but when I finally made it to the third story I sprinted down the hallway until I came to the door marked, Uchiha. I could hear someone climbing the stairs behind me, and if I'd been in my right mind, I would have been able to tell that it was probably just the late-night janitor, and not Gaara coming to get me. That guy seriously scared the shit out of me. Turning to the door, I knocked hard and frantically. I kept glancing back towards the stairwell even as footsteps could be heard from behind the door. When the doorknob finally turned, I flung myself into through the doorway and straight into Sasuke. I knocked us both to the floor and immediately attached myself to his hip, going into gibberish mode. Shut that door, shut the door. I blurted out. Somehow, he understood me and reached out and pushed the door shut. I sighed, or I tried to, but it was a bit difficult on account of the fact that I was shaking so damn much. Naruto, Sasuke said quietly, what's the matter? You're trembling. He gripped my shoulders lightly. I released him slightly and looked up at him. Was this the same Uchiha Sasuke that, only this morning, was telling me to grow up and quit complaining? It couldn't be. I stole a glance down at the rest of him and blushed. All he was wearing was a simple pair of baggy, navy pajama pants, so his chest, his fine chest, was just sitting there in front of me, begging to be stared at. But, no, if he caught me staring at his chest, he'd kill me. So I forced myself to look back up to his face. His very, very nice face. Naruto. I snapped out of the revere that had caught hold of me and I looked at him in the eyes. The whole reason for coming here had come back to me and I trembled again. It was this really weird looking guy. I gibbered out. He cornered me in an alleyway and pushed me up against a wall. Breath. And then I ran back home, but he was there too, so I ran here and he was chasing me all the way here and in. I could feel tears grazing my eyes, so I looked down at his knees, which were the only part of him I could stand to look at right then and there. How could I start to cry right in front of him? What was I, 6? I shut my eyes and tried to hold back the tears. I felt 2 fingers underneath my chin and they pushed my face up so that I was forced to look at Sasuke. He was smiling slightly at me, which caused my heart to skip a beat. It's all right now, he cooed softly. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that Sasuke the ice bitch had a heart. You can spend the night here if you want. His gaze questioned me. I nodded. Alright. I stuttered out, partly in fear of Gaara and partly in embarrassment. // Rin, how was is? Bad, good, you wanna kill us? Either way, We wanna know. Review, but, if you flame us, please don't be too mean. Meanies are no fun and are evil. XD. Yami Rin. And anyway, the flames'll be used to roast Neji over an open fire. Gets a Naruto fox smile, heh heh heh. Can ya tell we don't like Neji? Rin. Anyone who's mean to Hinata will burn. Wah hhhhhhhh. To get this you would have to have read Naruto manga between Chi 73 and 80. Somewhere around there. Hinata. Oh, leaves. Yami Rin. And why would you wonderful people flame us, anyways? 3 cause I mean, you're all so nice that you wouldn't flame, right? Right. XD. Rin. Oh, Yami Rin. Gomen. I need to be alone, now, goes off into a dark corner and mopes. Rin. Blinks, what the hell was that all about? Sighs, damn PM sing Yami. Anyway, as Yami Rin said before going all bitch attack, review. It'll make us happy and it'll make us work faster. Asterisk carrot underscore carrot asterisk now, I've got to go get Yami out of that corner so we can write the next chappy. / PS. Rin, we need a name for this FIC. If you wanna help us name this FIC, say the name you think would work in your review. Disclaimer. We work in a bar somewhere in Canada. What do ya think? A.N. Rin, holy shit. We got, counts the reviews asterisk 27 reviews. I was only expecting, like, 2. Asterisk carrot underscore carrot asterisk I'm so HAAAAAAPY. Yami Rin. You underestimate us too much, Rin-kun. And now, to answer the reviews. Rin. Yeah, I love this part of the show. Oh, whoops, wrong thingy going on here. Percent. To Fire Dragon 97. Rin, thanks. I probably wouldn't have been traumatized, I would have been swooning. Carrot underscore carrot, but this is only me. Probably not what you would think. Or would you? A faint, dun, can be heard in the background. To moi, Yami Rin, it was excellent, wasn't it? Well, I think we did a pretty good job. I mean, no one's reviewed saying that they threw up, now have they? And, as you wanted, the next chapter. Carrot underscore, to Keisha. Rin, hee. Starting off was hard, cheeky smiley face, but once we got going, me and Yami Rin were typing for, 4 hours or more, 3 don't we work hard? Teehee, to Zenigami. Yami Rin, oh, Neji's hot alright. Heh. Looks over to see the boy roasting on a stick over an open fire, I'll put him out eventually. Maybe. To Japame girl. Rin, I feel bad for Gaara too, sniffs maybe one day, I'll write a Naruto FIC about Gaara. Naruto. Stares dreamily off into space someday, falls asleep from thinking too hard. To Dragon. Yami Rin, I love Gaara too. Who wouldn't? Carrot underscore carrot and sorry, about the one-shot FIC thing, it's just that me and Rin had already decided on a name with Athraven's suggestion. But, if you really want to, you can get mad and challenge us to write a Naruto FIC for ya. That might work too, you never know. To Wuffy Louver. Rin, yes, damn that Sasuke, always getting the guy. So to speak, but you have to admit, Naruto and Sasuke make a kawaii couple, nay. And don't worry, Neji's burning anyway, cause Yami Rin found some gasoline and I found a lighter, so it works out in the end, don't it? XDDD yees. To Pyong. Yami Rin, here. Carrot underscore carrot and thank you. To me. Rin, I liked your title. But Yami Rin was all like, no. Not angsty enough. Sniffs I wanted, uninvited shadow. To Vin. Yami Rin. Oh, I was gonna ask if y'all wanted some Ritalin, but that would be rude. Sorry. I'm just kidding. To Jade Tiger. Rin, don't worry, that wasn't it. X3 I'm loving this FIC like you wouldn't believe. To Morian Alexander. Yami Rin. Cool pen name, by the way. And Naruto is just so kawaii, isn't he? And don't worry, we're reading more and more manga every day. XDDD it rocks. To Shimegami. Rin. Sniffs it was supposed to be a serious FIC. Sobs asterisk WAHHHH. Goes back to normal anyway, oh. A Pocky. I loves Pockies. Takes a bite waka waka. 3 T he. To love from Vicky. Yami Rin. you'll find out what that means in this chapter, don't worry. All will become clear, goes all funky To Misakichi. Rin, I wasn't a big fan of Sasunaru for a while either. But look at me now. I'm a shipper. To Lovova. Yami Rin, that would be a really cool twist, wouldn't it? But unfortunately, it isn't what the plot, we have a plot. Oh, of this story is. So we. To SW. Rin, yes, I think Sasuke is an ice bitch. Tis why I wrote it, honey. __. To Monkfish. Yami Rin, another cool pen name here. I want a Gaara plushie. But I can't find one anywhere. Can you tell me where I can get one? Teary-eyed. To Athraven. Rin, we should get a beta reader, shouldn't we? Heh. Anyways, I loved you title suggestions. So much that we picked one. Now, just email us or whatever and tell us what pairing you'd want and if you want it to be a fluff FIC, or an angst FIC, or whatever. Now, come and claim your prize. XDDD. To Ginji Ban. Rin, Ginji Ban reviewed our FIC. I'm so proud, it's not funny. And yes, I got to answer 2 reviews in a row, but I don't care. XDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDD. I'm a big fan of Orphan's Love, and I want you to continue as soon as possible. Oh, great one, with thou awesome FIC, I am not worthy to get a review. But do it again anyway. Wah hhhhh. To Siren M. Yami Rin, little backstabbing, got to answer too. Anyway, Obsession, is a good title name, and I like it a lot, but we already picked a name. And they were OOC. OMG. Goman. Bosun hits her head on a table OWWW. To Space Station. Rin, blushes teehee. Someone loves my FIC. I'm so proud. To Bronze Eagle. Yami Rin, I still hate Neji. Grr. Yeah, Gaara is big and scary. 3 just kidding ya. Gaara is so kawaii. I just love M right to death. __. To Lady Atiko. Rin, teehee. More praises. And not a single flame. Faints. To Chris. Yami Rin. Again, this was supposed to be a serious FIC. Oh well, what can ya do? To Silver Tear. Rin, here's the update you wanted. It is nice, isn't it? I'm so cute. And egotistical. But waka. __. Yami Rin. So, there ya have it. It's the first time we've ever answered reviews before. Took a little while though. Not that we mind, now. Rin. It was fun. Let's do it again sometime. XDDDD pixie sticks are good. Wah hhhhhh. Takes another gulp of the one in her hand *, wee hee hee. Turns chibi and bounces off. Yami Rin. Oh, well, I gotta go catch Rin so we can start the next chapter. See ya. Runs after Rin *, Ibo, come back. // Summary. Naruto is harassed by Gaara one day. Over the course of the following week, the panda-eyed boy doesn't let up, and is scaring Naruto just a little. Naruto goes to Sasuke, for an unknown *****. Hint. Reason. Things to know. 1. The authoresses are crazy. 2. Naruto will be acting like a little girl in this FIC maybe. 3. Blah blah equals author's notes. 4. Blah blah equals speech. 5. A lot of s equals change of scene, or end of chapters. // Warning. This FIC will contain shonenai in later chapters. For those who don't know what that is, it's boy love. Sasunaru and one-sided Gaara, Naruto. Will also contain Kakeru. Maybe some graphic stoof, too. // Even the Cold Burns by Rin Lockhart and Yami Rin. // Chapter 1. Gaara's POV. It is ironic that I have the symbol of love on my forehead. I have never had love, not from my parents, not from relatives, not from anyone. Well, there was one, but they died an untimely death, so I rarely count them as anything. I am a genin, a low-level ninja. I was going to the Hidden Leaf village soon to become a chunin. I am also from the Sand Continent, a place feared in itself, without the help of the ninjas it trains. We Sand ninjas used to be fearer a lot more than we are now. But a great war broke out or something, I am not sure of it, and we fell. I am an unusual ninja because I carry with me the remnants of a demon. A raccoon demon or something named Shukaku, I think it was. I had found no one who was like me, until I went to that fortune teller located in the middle of a nameless village. Destiny. I spat on it until that day. I didn't believe that anyone was pulling the strings with my life, and that no one ever would. But I was curious as to what the old woman could do. I was planning to kill her afterwards, and add her to the collection of deaths on my name. I carry a gourd on my back that is a mixture of sand and the blood of all the people I have ever killed. There's something extra too, but I'm not about to give you the satisfaction of knowing what that is. As I stepped into the tent of the fortune teller, my nose was bombarded with the sense of incense. I waved some of the smoke out of my eyes and proceeded to sit down at one end of the small circular table. At the other end sat a ragged old woman of whom I could not see her face, as her head was covered by many dark cloths, as was the rest of her body. She asked me to show her my palm. I gave it to her automatically. It was not like she could hurt me. Her old, shriveled fingers traveled all over my hand, tracing lines gently, some harder than others, and finally stopping for a moment. You have had many misfortunes in your life, young one, she said. I had to resist the urge to snort. Anyone could have told me that. But I let her continue. And you have seen many deaths, far too many for someone this young. She wheezed in a breath. And you are going away soon to become more than you are now. I nodded and she seemed to see it, although I still don't know, to this day, how she had done so. You wish to find someone like yourself, of whom you can love. Again I nodded, although this time with a flinch and hesitation. She gripped my hand a bit harder than she had been a minute before. If you wish to find this person, you must go to Konoha earlier than you had intended, she wheezed. This person is hated and loathed, just as you are, Gara of the Sand. I blinked. How did she know my name? I am a seer, she stated. I jumped up, knocking the chair over in the process. What? I asked, my voice ragged. How did you know what I was thinking? A grisly smile appeared on her lips, the only part of her face that was visible. I know all, and I see all, she said slowly. Of course I can see your thoughts. Your mind is very well guarded for a mere boy, but nothing that I could not see past. She motioned to the lopsided chair with an outstretched hand. Why do you not sit back down? It would be so much more comfortable. Slowly, I grabbed the said object off of the floor and put it upright again, sitting back down. How much earlier must I leave? I asked. I was desperate for an answer. Another smile. Now, if you must. It is a long journey after all. I stood up, unlike the last time, and handed the fortune teller a couple of yen. She nodded in thanks. Without saying a thing, I turned to leave. One other thing, the old woman called out. I looked back at her with an annoyed look. I desperately wanted to get going. What? I snapped. The woman never even flinched. Make the journey an extremely quick one. For the one you seek is falling in love with another as we speak. My lips curled back in a snarl. We'll see about that. I turned and left the fortune teller without even a single glacé back, but I could tell that she was watching my back as I left. I got only a little bit into the desert before looking back to the nameless village. It was so small. I just couldn't resist. I put my hands into the ninja position and called out, Subaku Kyu no Jutsu. I dropped the position as soon as I saw the sand flying up from all around and covering the village. I turned around and started walking again as soon as I couldn't see any proof that there had been a village there. I got bored with walking about an hour later, so a quick, Shunshin no Jutsu got me to Konoha in no time at all. There was a small hole left where I came up out of the ground, scaring an older man into fainting in doing so right in front of the large gates that the village was behind. I got in with no problems. It seemed that they were expecting ninja from other continents soon, just not this early, but they let me in anyway. Traveling the streets can get extremely boring if you do not know where anything is, or the person you are looking for. The nearest person to me at that moment was a stout man in about his late 20s or early 30s. I walked up to him and cleared my throat to get his attention. He looked up from a conversation he was having with a pretty-looking young thing. People like him disgusted me, an older person looking to a younger person for sexual intercourse. Regardless, I asked him all the same. Are there any demons around here, would you know? He looked startled for a second, but that was immediately covered by a deep loathing look. Yeah, there's a demon around here, but fortunately for us, he's away on a mission at the moment. The man huffed. I don't know how the brat became a ninja in the first place. I looked at him puzzledly. Mission, ninja, how would a demon become a ninja? I asked. The man snarled. 'Cause he's in the form of a 12-year-old brat. He looked angered, but then started muttering to himself. That bloody demon took my wife and children away 12 years ago. Would you happen to know where he lives? The man looked startled deeply by my question. Why would you want to know that? He scratched his head. I glared. Alright, I'll tell ya. He lives in the ninja apartment just down the alleyway over there. He pointed to a small space between two buildings. The room should say, Uzumaki Naruto, on the door. He then turned back to the young girl. I headed down the street in the alleyway until I came upon a building that looked to be the apartment the man was talking about. I headed inside it. Uzumaki Naruto, I muttered. Such a beautiful name. I wonder what he's like. I searched the doors, seeing a lot of random names that meant nothing to me. I finally came to his name. It was on a small, tarnished gold plate hanging from the door. I tried the doorknob. Locked, of course. I covered one of my eyes with a hand and muttered, Daisen no mi. A small amount of sand gathered from nowhere in my hand and came up to form a sphere. That sphere turned into a real, third eye. My third eye. I crouched down and let the small eye roll underneath the door, one hand still covering my actually eye. The third eye squeezed under the door and proceeded to look around. The room was a complete and utter mess. The sheets on the bed looked like they hadn't been put right in months, cloths scattered the floor, and empty ramen cups lay in random places all over the room. I could make out a small fridge in the corner. There was a picture on the bedside table, the only place not covered in a mess. On viewing it a bit closer, it seemed to be a picture of a small blonde-haired kid in orange, about my age, with 3 lines on both sides of his face that looked like whiskers, and an older male, about, I don't know, 23 maybe. His hair was pulled back into a ponytail on top of his head and there was a scar across the bridge of his nose. I was guessing that Naruto was the small blonde boy in the older male's arms. A smile grazed both faces. A faint jealousy grew in me. I wanted to be the one who held him like that, and the one he smiled like that for. A smirk spread on my face the next second as a thought occurred to me. He soon would be the one who I held in my arms, whether I had to force him or if he came to me willingly. With the removal of my hand from my eye, the third eye in the room disintegrated into sand and fell apart. I stood up and sighed. It had been a long day and I needed a place to stay for the night. Maybe even the next little while, because I might as well stay here until the exams are over. I started walking down the semi-long hallway and out of the building. I walked around the village for about an hour searching for a suitable lodging. I finally found one in the home of a grouchy, elderly old woman. I got rid of her easy enough. She is now lying underground, covered by about 30 feet of sand. It was almost humorous to see her struggle against the force of the sand. She didn't even have enough breath to scream out for help, the poor woman. I looked around and decided that I needed to redecorate. When one looks around a room and sees nothing but pink and flowery print, one has to resist their gag reflex. So I proceeded to rip the curtains down, I pulled the blinds shut, of course, and smashed those accursed flowered plates. The kittens on them were annoying me to no end. I tore down the wallpaper and threw it to the floor. When I finished, I looked all around the room at my handiwork and smirked. It would do, now, I supposed. I sat the large gourd down onto one of the many chairs in the room. I myself flopped down onto the couch, head resting on one of the arms and my feet propped up on the other. I needed something to do now that I had a place to stay and I knew where Naruto lived. Thinking of Naruto, I realized that I knew next to nothing about the boy, other than the fact of where he lived. Sitting up, I decided that was what I would do for the next while, until the boy returned of course. But if I knew a lot about my mate, then it would be easier to bait him, and lure him to me. So, not even bothering to pick up the gourd, I headed out of the back door, and into the crowded street. It wasn't that hard to get information about him. It seemed that he is known by all the people in the village, young and old. Almost all the adults told me the same thing. Naruto was a trouble-making brat with no parents. Although it took a while, I managed to get the story of the Nine-Tails demon fox out of a middle-aged man. I almost had to kill him to get it, but I got it nonetheless. All of the children said the same thing too, that the little fox boy was loudmouthed, obnoxious and not the best ninja in the world. It seemed that not one person had anything good to say about him. Still, the more I heard, the more I wanted the beautiful child. It seemed that he liked ramen as well. Useless food item, if you ask me. One night while I was waiting my beloved's return, a dog had managed to get into the house and was now happily snacking on a rat. I had glared down at it before reaching down and grabbing it by the scruff of the neck. It had whimpered and whined, but I gave it no pity. I had taken out a kunai and cut the pathetic animal's head off. It was no more than it deserved. I kicked its head across the room and carried its body into the small kitchen. Taking down a jar, I completely drained the thing of its remaining blood into the glass container. I then tossed the carcass to the side and brought the jar back into the other room. Now back by the chair I had been sitting in, I kneeled down by the wall and dipped 2 fingers of the right hand into the red liquid. I then pressed the fingers to the wall and began to write. On the wall, I wrote Naruto's name, and how I planned to take him as my own. And how I planned to make sweet love to him. And how I planned to kill anyone that got in my way. And how he would come back to the sand continent with me, all in vivid detail. I also wrote my own name somewhere among this mess of blood. When I finished, all of the walls were covered in blood. Deep, red, rich blood. And all of my plans would soon become a reality. Yes, so very soon. By day I sat atop the main gates to Konoha and just watched for any signs of his return. By night, I scrounged up a few rats or bugs to eat. It was a lot harder than you may think, but it kept me from falling asleep. Not that I needed anything to keep me awake. You see, I never sleep. You remember of the demon living inside me. It becomes stronger by the shadows of darkness inside my head, so if I fall asleep, it will emerge and kill everyone and everything in sight. Afterwards, I would probably just shrug and walk away into another town. It was on the 3rd day of watching, around sunset, that I noticed 4 figures walking towards the village. Squinting, I made out that the smallest one was Naruto. The others, which consisted of an older male, 1 dark-haired boy and a pink-haired girl, would not get in my way. I would make sure of that. Upon entering the village, the 3 parted ways. I was careful to follow Naruto very closely. He began to walk through the small alleyway to his apartment, so I jumped to the ground without so much as a sound, for he didn't turn around. Yami Rin. Dear goddess, it rhymes. He swerved around suddenly and I was forced to the shadows along the side of the wall. There, I inched by until I was behind him once again. So when he turned around again, I came face to face with me. He stared at my chin for a second, that was where his eye level was before looking up, straight into my eyes. I resisted the urge to gasp. His eyes were the deepest blue I had ever seen. They reminded me of the kind of blue only found in the depths of the ocean. He looked down slightly as if just noticing now how close we were. He jumped back, yelping, and reached to his leg pouch. Not that he'd managed to get anything out of it. With swift movements, I grabbed him and slammed him into the wall. He narrowed his eyes in pain and then widened them in shock as I pressed myself against him. Oh, the sweet feelings that contact can give you. There was a flame going through my veins as I lifted his arms above his head and breathed into his ear. We finally meet, Demon Fox. I whispered. You have no idea how long I have been awaiting this night. I couldn't resist any longer. My tongue came out and licked along his ear, curving over the top of it. He tasted so sweet. The next second, one of the wrists that I had in my firm grip was wrenched free and he pushed me off. Instantly, I missed the warmth that his body radiated. I was a good 5 feet away, at least, before he spoke. What the hell do you think you're doing? He exclaimed. And who in the name of Hokage are you, ya freak? His voice. It displayed so much emotion, which was not a good quality for a ninja to possess. But, to me it sounded like the most perfect sound in existence. I smiled slightly at him. I am merely fulfilling what was meant to be, am I said softly. Oh, the nickname sweet fit him so well. His taste still lingered in my mouth. And as for who I am Gaara. I saw him shiver, even through the darkness. It seemed that I scared him, the poor little fox. I guess I'll just have to work a little harder into making him mine. I gazed into his eyes and the scared look on his face turned into one of anger. Where do you get off on calling me sweet, you panda-eyed freak? His outburst did nothing to hinder my plans. No one's allowed to call me sweet. Bastard. I didn't want to wait any longer, so I took a step towards him. This action caused him to take 2 steps backwards. I frowned. It seemed like I would have to work a lot harder than I had intended. Not that I wouldn't. This beautiful little kid would soon be mine, mind, body, and soul. Even if I had to kill him to do it. The next second I was looking at his receding back. He was running away from me. Figures. I jumped up and followed him from the roofs. It seemed that the alleyway was a shortcut home for him. The kitsune ran around about 3 buildings before turning a corner and heading back towards the ninja apartment. I smirked at this. I could easily get into his home now. All I had to do was use the Shunshin no Jutsu technique and basically teleport into his house. Why I hadn't thought of that earlier is beyond me. I used the said technique and appeared inside his apartment. There was only a small hole that I covered by the dirty rug. I proceeded to hide in the shadows beside the door. My heart sped up as I heard a key in the lock. He was so close. The door opened and he stepped in. He didn't seem to notice me, for he went on locking the door. He turned to walk more into the house, but I stepped forward and wrapped my arms around his small waist. My little fox immediately struggled, but I stopped him by lifting him off of the floor. I threw him into the air slightly and caught him as soon as he faced me. My arms went back to his waist, and I gave him a look to tell him to stop squirming. He gasps and I hug his slight frame to me, burying my face into his neck. Why do you run from me, Kyubi? I whisper to him. I lay a kiss on the side of his neck, and resist the urge to nip at it. I didn't want to scare him too much so soon. He started to struggle against my hold on him, so I loosened my grip. He managed to wriggle out. I sighed softly and hung into the shadows again. He looked around, but couldn't see me. What the hell is this? He cried out. I noticed a slight tremble course through his body. My eyes trailed down his body as he stood there frozen, taking in all that I could see. I saw a slim, delicious neck, a thin torso, willowy arms, a small waist, thin hips just begging to be groped, and lean, muscular legs. I unconsciously licked my lips. This was more than I anticipated, as I did go to a fortune teller of whom I thought was a fraud. He ran from the apartment and I was left alone. Again, I sighed. He would be mine, if it was the last thing I did on this earth. I walked to the window and opened it, jumping out into the tree closest to it. It created a slight rustling sound. I continued on until I reached the house I was borrowing. I would leave him alone until morning, because I had to plan how to make him come to me. I smirked as an idea came to me. A malicious smirk that probably made me look even worse than I already do. //an. Rin. So, how was it? Please tell us in a review. We'll be encouraged to work faster if you do. Yummy Rin. Sighs holy shit, that took a long time to write. We were typing for about looks to clock 4 hours straight and my hands feel like they're gonna fall off, _me dead tired. Rin. Hee hee. Poor you and your non-sugar thing. Ya see, she can't eat sugar, or she'll come out like me, and no one really wants to see another me. But, lucky me, I can eat sugar and my hands don't hurt. 3 I'm so cute. Yummy Rin. OVO, you cannot tell me that your hands don't hurt. 'Cause that wouldn't be right. Rin. Like I said, it's the sugar. Yummy Rin. == whatever. I'm turning into Squall. Wow. Rin. Anyway, please review. Oh, and let us know if whose POV we should do next chappy. We were planning to make a Sasuke's POV but we want the reader's input. Thankies. We do not own Naruto. Sniffs one day, though. Maybe. If we get sued, all they'll get is a few copies of our fiction. Probably not even those. An. Rin. We're getting so many reviews. It's so cool. X3 I'm lovin' these. XDDDDD. Yummy Rin. 9_9 Of course we're getting reviews. People like what we write. Type. Yeah that's it. L laughing face anyways. Now, to answer our reviews for chapter 1. Rin. Sugoi no. _toi. Yummy Rin. I don't know how you can be so perky so early in the morning. See, our room's getting renovated, and we're letting her father do it, and he likes to fool around with stuff to do with carpentry, so now we don't have a floor. There's just a big hole in the floor about the size of the room. So, we were forced to sleep in the living room on an air mattress, and it gets light very early, and there's a big ass window and it woke us up at, like, 7 o'clock this morning. I could have killed him. Smiley face, heh heh heh. To Gelfling. Rin. Thank you so much, again, for cheering us up about the flame. Anyway, would have taken a long time to get my mood out of the gutter and back up to the cheery status that it's in now. Thank you. To Gelfling. Yummy Rin. Teehee. I think I love you too. You helped my Rin-kun out. Wah. Hugs Gelfling I love ya. To the fiery. Rin. Thank you ever so much. Giggles I really liked doing Gaara's chappy. Percent. Rin. Anyway. I love reviews. Yami Rin. Oh, okay, that was weird. Summary. Naruto is harassed by Gaara one day. Over the course of the following week, the panda-eyed boy doesn't let up, and is scaring Naruto just a little. Naruto goes to Sasuke, for an unknown *****. Hint. Reason. Things to know. 1. The authoresses are crazy. 2. Naruto will be acting like a little girl in this fic, maybe. 3. Blah blah equals author's notes. 4. Blah blah equals speech. 5. A lot of s equals change of scene, or end of chapters. // Warning. This fic will contain shonenai in later chapters. For those who don't know what that is, it's boy love. Sasunaru and one-sided Gaara, Naruto. Will also contain Kakeru. Maybe some graphic stoof, too. Warning 2. This chapter's probably gonna have some fluff in it, so ya better watch out. *_*. Even the Cold Burns by Rin Lockhart and Yami Rin. // Chapter 2. Sasuke's POV. The Mist Continent had changed a lot of things for me. For example, the way I see Naruto. I used to see him as an immature, loud, obnoxious brat. That was before I thrown myself in front of him to block him from Haku's supposed, deadly, attack. Oh well, neither of us knew that it wasn't lethal. Sakura, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto, and I had just gotten home from the mission to the Mist Continent. I had noticed that Naruto kept throwing these odd glances at me from time to time. I guessed it was from the fight with Zabuza and Haku. I hadn't really thought about as to why I had saved Naruto until the walk home. Well, I couldn't before that, really, for I was unconscious. I guess it was because I thought of him as a rival, someone worthy to spar with me. For a long time, I didn't even think of him as that. All I saw him as was dumb. I hate to say it, but that's what I thought. But when I think about it, I didn't really think of him as a rival that much anymore, but more as a friend. Because he understood what true loneliness was. Sure, we still have the competitiveness, but it's not like it was before. Before, we would always throw spiteful glares at each other, and now we just glacé spitefully. Such a change, nay. And I really don't like it all that much. You see, the thing is, my mind has been feeding me all these different fantasies. About Naruto. Once, I saw Naruto. And a bed. So you see my dilemma. It only started after Haku, but it came with such a force that I almost couldn't control myself around the fox boy. Hey, I even thought up a nickname for him. I find that he always looks like a fox somehow. It's the way he smiles, added to the whisker-like lines on both sides of his face, I guess. He looks kind of cute. Yes, I admit, I think I might like him, a little bit. No, I can't even like him that much. I am an Avenger, and I have to kill my brother for taking away all that was important in my life. I don't have time for such rampant emotions such as that. But my emotion came up very clearly the night we got back. I had just gotten home and proceeded to take a nice, hot shower. After that, I planned to go to bed and rest, as we had to do something for the Chunin exams in the morning. Now out of the shower, I pulled on a pair of navy pajama pants and started to climb into the cool sheets that awaited me. That is, until a rapid knocking came to my front door. I got up and went to answer it, grumbling as I went. The knocking didn't cease. Whoever it was wanted my attention, and fast. I threw open the door and was immediately knocked over by an orange and blonde blur. To say I was surprised would have been the biggest understatement made by the lips of man. "Shut that door, shut the door," the blur hollered. I obliged instantly, recognizing the voice. He had latched himself onto my hip and refused to let go. He sighed shakily. I glared at the back of his head. I looked down at Naruto's face and my gaze softened. He was looking up at me with his big blue eyes that I couldn't resist. I'll be damned if he ever finds this out. The blonde boy trembled so much that he sent tremors throughout my body. I held him by the shoulders and spoke to him. "Naruto," I said, "what's the matter? You're trembling." He looked up at me with wearily, terrified eyes. I saw him glance down at the rest of me, pausing for a moment at my chest. I inwardly smirked. If only poor Naruto could see this, he'd slap himself. He finally looked back up to my face when I called out his name. He went straight into gibberish mode. It was this really weird looking guy. He said. He cornered me in an alleyway and pushed me up against a wall. He took a breath. And then I ran back home, but he was there too, so I ran here and he was chasing me all the way here and then. I saw his eyes start to well with tears and he looked down, obviously ashamed. I put 2 fingers underneath his chin and forced him to look at me. The tears were running freely down his face now. It's all right now, I cooed to him. You can spend the night here if you want. I gazed at him for a moment longer before he nodded and stuttered out an, all right. I stood up and he stood with me, still attached to my hip. I walked over to the couch by the far wall and folded it out, making a bed. He let go of me by this time and sat on the bed as I went to get a pillow and a blanket from the closet. When I got back, he was still sitting in the exact same position as when I left. He seemed to be lost in thought. His eyes were glazed over and half-lidded. The blonde boy didn't even seem to notice that I had returned. Hey, Dobie, I called out. He instantly turned his head my way and glared. Catch. I smirked and threw the blanket and pillow at him. Both things landed on his head, even though he held out his arms to catch them. What a klutz. Hey, I said. He looked up from trying to arrange the pillow. Do you want a pair of pajamas? 'Cause I mean, I really don't think that you have any. He huffed at me. I'm just fine, thank you very much. He folded his arms over his chest. I smirked again. Whatever. I turned towards my room to leave, but I faced his way again for a second. Dobie, I added. He angrily puffed his cheeks out, like he did before the mission to the Mist Continent. I chuckled and headed into my room, not without flicking off the light on him on the way. I closed the door, the only source of light that was left to him, and a loud thump was heard followed by random curses on my name. I shook my head and crawled into bed. I did a bit of thinking before drifting off, because only now I really thought about what Naruto said when he first came here. Someone was chasing him. Who? And why? A sudden possessiveness coursed through me like wildfire. Who would dare try and go after my Naruto? Wait a second, mine. Since when did I consider Naruto mine? Okay, maybe I'm a little protective of him, but I don't like him like the. Drowsiness caught hold of me suddenly and my eyes started to droop, my last thought being, I don't like him. / I was awoken suddenly by someone latching themselves onto my arm. Using my free arm, I reached over and grabbed the kunai I kept on the side table, sitting up, grabbing the person, and holding the blade to their throat. I couldn't see the person, as it was still dark in the room, but I could tell that they were slighter than I was. A familiar scent assaulted my nose and let go of the slightly coughing person. Naruto! I exclaimed through the darkness. I could just make out his silhouette against the window. What the hell are you doing? He latched himself onto my arm again. I heard these noises and I thought that Gaara was coming after me again. I could tell that he was looking at me with his big baby blue eyes. But wait a minute, Gaara. He was the one after Naruto. Gaara, I asked. Are you sure that's what his name was? I felt him nod against my arm, his hair tickling slightly. Do you mean Gaara of the Sand? He didn't answer. I forced him to release my arm and I sat him directly across from me, our knees touching. I put my hands on his shoulders and held him at arm's length. Naruto, was it Gaara of the Sand? He looked around for a moment, as if struggling to find the words. I don't know. I know that he had this symbol on his forehead. Love, I think it was. And that he has this big gourd on his back. Oh yeah, he had this weird crimson color hair, and no eyebrows. I sighed and dropped my hands from his shoulders. That's Gaara of the Sand, all right. But what's he doing here so early? The Chunin exams don't start for another few weeks yet. I let my head loll backwards, as far as it would go. This was when Naruto spoke up. Why? Who's Gaara of the Sand, anyway? Is he important or something? My head snapped up and I looked at him hard. He flinched. Gaara is a ninja from the Sand Continent, I started. He's been well known for a while now because of what he does best. And what he does best is kill. Naruto froze on the spot. I looked away and gazed out of the window. It's said that the gourd on his back is made from sand and the blood of all the people he's ever killed. He can use the sand to his advantage, because he uses it in all of his jutsus. If he comes after you again, get away from him as fast as you can. I looked back to Naruto through the darkness and saw that he was shaking again. I know what I said was a bit much to handle, but I've never known Naruto to tremble. A sudden thought occurred to me, was Naruto not telling me something? I was about to ask him, but he spoke up first. Sasuke, he said quietly. I had to strain my ears to hear him. What if Gaara isn't trying to kill me? I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? He looked down. Naruto. Quote. He started swaying back and forth, like he usually did when he was bored or couldn't find the right thing to say. The silence rung in my ears as I stared at the top of his head, waiting for him to continue. Sasuke, he mumbled. I nodded to show that I'd heard him, but I don't think he saw it. He continued regardless. I think he might, like me. He looked up at me to see my reaction. My eyes widened in shock. At first I didn't believe him, but then I thought about it. Gaara could have easily killed Naruto if he had the mind to. But he didn't, and that didn't seem like the kind of thing Gaara would do. He was known for killing at random, for no apparent reason other than he could. I looked up Naruto to see that he was crying again. Silently, for I don't think he was about to give up his pride in front of me right yet. He spoke up suddenly. Why did he have to like me? He cried softly. What did I do to deserve this? He sniffed. Then he hiccuped. And then he grabbed one of my pillows and buried his face in it. He laid down on his stomach and continued to try and smother himself. I kneeled beside him and put my hand on his shoulder. Naruto, it's not your fault, I said. I must admit, I'm not very good at comforting people. Probably because I've never been comforted by anyone before. He refused to remove his face from my pillow. Naruto, look at me, would you? Hesitatingly, he replied, bringing his whole body up and sitting in front of me again. Only this time it was him sitting and me on my knees, instead of both on our knees. The dried tear stains on his face were blotched because of the pillow. Oh Naruto, my poor Naruto. You shouldn't have to bear this pain. If I could take it from you I would. I suddenly reached my arms out and pulled his slight body towards mine. He froze, but eventually relaxed again by the time he was comfortably sitting in my lap. Each of his legs were on either side of my waist, straddling me slightly. My arms were around his shoulders in an embrace and, this took a moment though, he laid his head on my shoulder and wrapped his arms around my middle. We sat there for a minute or two before I disrupted the blissful silence. Naruto, you can always look to me for someone to lean on, I whispered. I felt him shiver from my warm breath on his ear. And I'll always be here to listen, Dobi. I smirked. Just don't get all touchy-feely out in public. I have a reputation to protect, you know. I listened to him as he chuckled. The rumbling in his chest sent shivers down my spine. When we pulled apart, I noticed that he wasn't wearing anything related to a shirt. All he had on was his orange pants. I could feel my face heating up, but luckily, I don't think he could see it through the semi-darkness. I was expecting him to get up and leave for his own bed, but he seemed reluctant to get up off of my bed. He turned to face me, and I swore I could see his cheeks go a shade darker. Sasuke? He asked, shyly almost. Was my reply. He seemed to go an even darker shade. Could I, sleep with you? He looked at me hopefully. I nearly choked when I thought he meant something else. I mentally slapped myself when I realized his true meaning. He simply wanted to sleep in the same bed as I did. Man, if I keep going on like this, I'm gonna end up like Kakashi-sensei. Sure, I said. He breathed a sigh of relief. Thanks, he murmured, before pulling back the covers and getting under them. He snuggled down contentedly before closing his eyes and attempting to go to sleep. I took one last glance at his passive face and got under the covers myself, lying on my back. I simply lay there with my eyes half open, listening to the boy beside me breath. Pretty soon his breathing became longer and more steadily, so I could tell that he was finally asleep. I turned my head and glanced over at him to see that he was smiling, a small smile that was nothing like the fox smile he's accustomed to wearing, but a little, gentle one. He looks so serene when he's asleep. I've noticed that from the few times that I've seen him sleeping while we were supposed to be doing a mission. My body suddenly developed a mind of its own. I shifted over and wrapped my arms around Naruto's waist, pulling him closer to me. I buried my face into his hair and prayed to every god that I knew the name of that he wouldn't wake up. His breath tickled the skin on my neck with every breath he took. // Rin, I so don't think we did Sasuke I see, really, I don't. And I told you Naruto would be acting like a little girl in this fic. And don't worry all you Kakeru fans, there's gonna be at least a mentioning of them in the next chapter. Yami Rin. I think we did a pretty good job. You did a good job on the fluffy parts. And, there weren't many angsty parts so. I didn't really do all that much this chapter. Oh well, there's always next chapter. X3 oh yeah. Anyway people, review. This time, flames will be used to roast marshmallows and keep us warm at night, it gets very cold up here in Canada. Where we live, anyway. Rin. Would some people be able to tell me if they think that Sasuke was IC or OOC? Please. 3. I'll be very happy if you do. And just as a note, Shaman King episodes are gonna be on Fox in the fall. I can't WAAAAAIIIIITTT. XDDDDDDD. If only. If only. AN. Rin is out to make us look bad. We updated and put up chapter 3, but the FIC stayed at like 134 or summit. What a bitch. Cheeky smiley face. Not only that, but it cut out like half of the review answers. Grr. I'm so mad. So then we had to remove chapter 3 to put it up again, yet it still cut out the review answers. Yummy Rin. Sighs. Yes, it is unfortunate, but it's probably cause you replaced the vacation note with chapter 3, Ibo. 'Tis probably why it didn't work as you would have liked it to. Rin. Shut up. Well, I guess we'll put the review answers at the end of the chappies from now on. Summary. Naruto is harassed by Gaara one day. Over the course of the following week, the panda-eyed boy doesn't let up, and is scaring Naruto just a little. Naruto goes to Sasuke, for an unknown ******. Hint. Reason. Things to know. 1. The authoresses are crazy. 2. Naruto will be acting like a little girl in this FIC, maybe. 3. Blah blah equals author's notes. 4. Blah blah equals speech. 5. A lot of s equals change of scene, or end of chapters. // Warning. This FIC will contain shonenai in later chapters. For those who don't know what that is, it's boy love. Sasunaru and one-sided Gaara, Naruto. Will also contain Kakeru. Maybe some graphic stoof, too. Warning 2. Rin. This chappy contains brief Naruto angst, which Yami Rin is very proud of. // Even the cold burns by Rin Kin and Yami Rin. // Chapter 3. Naruto's POV. I awoke the next morning by the sunlight coming in through the window. I scrunched my eyes up in attempt to block it out, but it worked as well as if you wanted to block words from coming out of my mouth. Didn't work. There was a weird weight on my waist, but I didn't bother to check it out. I lazily slipped my eyes open, fully expecting to get an eyeful of my ninja apartment, but what I saw made my eyes widen in shock. All I could see, basically, was a finely built chest and neck. It took my mind a few seconds to realize this, of course, but when I did, you can't imagine the blush that crept onto my face. I really didn't want to move, but I forced my eyes to look up into the face of whoever the hell had the nerve to sneak into my own house and snuggle with me. I fleetingly hoped that it wasn't Gaara. I choked when I did look, but tried my damned hardest not to make a sound. Black hair was cascading down a smooth face that seemed to be made of pure ivory, and eyelids of the same color covered eyes that made the most piercing glare. Sasuke. Vaguely I wondered what he was doing in my house, not that I was complaining, but then the events of the previous night replayed in my mind. I wasn't in my own house at all. I was in Sasuke's. I mentally hit myself in the head. How could I forget about last night? Wow, that didn't sound all that healthy. Bad Naruto. Bad. No more perverted thoughts. Yes, anyway, it seemed that I had stirred during my thinking, and when I looked back up to Sasuke's face, he was staring down at me, eyes as impassive as ever. He pulled away from me suddenly, saying something about how he hadn't realized that it was me he was holding onto, and such. Wait, holding onto me? When was he? Oh, that was the weight on my waist. He got up and left the room, the door making a resounding click. Using one of my arms, I pushed myself up and stared after him, longing for him to come back. I sighed. I knew that he could never like me as more than a friend. Wait, did he even consider me as a friend? Or was I just a rival to him, someone to spar with every now and then? But then, why did he let me stay? Did he feel as if he had an obligation to look after me or something? I fleetingly hoped that I wasn't just a burden to him. Shaking my head, I swung my legs over the bed and put them on the floor. I shivered. The floor wasn't as warm as it seemed last night. I made my way to the door and grabbed the handle, then hesitated. What was I afraid of? I shook my head again and turned the knob, pushing the door open. I was greeted by the sight of his living room, in daylight this time, and where my makeshift bed was. Was being the key word there. It seemed that Sasuke had folded the bed back up and put the sheets away. I snorted. What a neat freak. Over the course of the next hour, I think I got to see a part of Sasuke, like, twice. I saw an arm the first time, I think, and I saw a piece of hair the second time. Was he avoiding me? By the time I was set to leave, he had already left. What a bastard. I'll have to put a load of duck crap in his bed later. Heh heh heh, that'll teach him to ignore me. My trademark fox smirk appeared on my face as I thought of my plan. I arrived at the usual meeting place only a little bit late. One wasn't really late if one is before one's teacher. That's my philosophy. Anyway, when I got to the street, Sakura was standing there, trying to start a conversation with Sasuke, who, when I waved at him, wouldn't look at me. So I glared at him. My brows scrunched up as I tried to think of what I could have done to him to make him suddenly hate me so much. I couldn't really think of anything. Wait, isn't he supposed to hate me, and we're supposed to be rivals and such? Duh, he's acting like this because he doesn't really want me to stay with him and he's just too stubborn to say no. I was standing by myself on one side of the street for a while. While you're by yourself, the strangest things can run through your head. Like a memory. One flashed through my head for a second, at that point in time. It was of me, sitting of the swing outside the Ninja Academy. I was about 7, and I was watching all the other kids with their parents, all waiting to hear if they'd been accepted into the academy. Tears welled in my eyes as I thought about it, but I forced them back. I wouldn't cry. I couldn't. I promised myself, never again would I cry. I stared at the ground and began mumbling a song I knew. Don't try to live so wise, I mumbled to the tune of the song. Don't cry 'cause you're so right. Don't dry with fakes or fears, 'cause you will hate yourself in the end. As the chorus came out of my mouth, I felt like I was being watched. I looked up and saw Sasuke gazing at me gently, Sakura idly prattling on at his side. Our eyes locked for about 3 seconds before he looked away. I sighed. He would never like me as more than a rival. And it pissed me off. My sudden anger faded as I felt like I was being watched again. My head snapped up and I looked around. Sasuke was silently brooding, eyes closed, and Sakura was trying desperately to get his attention. I couldn't see anyone else but I couldn't shake off the feeling. Ohayo, everyone. I looked up at the new voice and saw Kakashi walking up to us. Sakura jumped up and pointed an accusing finger at him. You're late, she exclaimed. He rubbed his head sheepishly. Gomen, but Iruka wanted me to do something for him and, I snorted. Of all the excuses I've heard our sensei use, that had to be one of the worst. Of course Iruka wanted him for something. Ever since the two had been introduced before our trip to the mist, they'd been all over each other. Not everyone knew this, of course, but I could get anything I wanted out of Iruka-sensei. So, what is our mission for today, sensei? Sasuke asked, a bored look on his face. Kakashi smiled at us from under his mask. Or, at least it looked like a smile, 'cause you could never really be sure with this guy. For today, he said, we will be picking up litter in a nearby stream. The old lady who lives near there suddenly stopped picking up the garbage from the stream and someone hired us to do it for today. My face fell. After what we'd been through in the country of waves, we could handle almost anything, and here we were doing these half-baked jobs for some old lady who can't do her own yard work. I sighed, yet followed Kakashi when he started walking away with Sasuke and Sakura. I could feel Sasuke glancing at me, but whenever I turned to look at him, he would be staring ahead. What a weird son of a bitch. I cannot believe that I think he's attractive. When we got to the old lady's house, it looked like it hadn't been tended to in weeks. There was quite a bit of garbage littered here and there, and the grass was long and gangly. I could see a stream running just a few feet away from the end of the yard. That too was littered with garbage. Kakashi-sensei, I exclaimed, do we have to do this crummy mission? Just 'cause of some stupid old lady? He looked at me with a glint of amusement in his one showing eye. He simply laughed and continued on into the yard, Sakura, Sasuke and me following close behind. He stopped suddenly and pulled 3 bags and 3 sticks out of the little pouch that was attached to his hip. How he fit it all in there, I'll never know. He handed each of us a bag and a stick, and told us to go pick up the litter. I almost told him that he could shove the litter where the sun don't shine, but I never got to because he started reading, Come Come Paradise. How he could read a book like that and still fight like he does is beyond me. The rest of us spread out along the whole place and started picking up the pieces of crap, garbage. I randomly poked at some things, and if it didn't stay on the damn stick, it was too bad for that. My feet had carried me over by the stream, so I poked at a particularly big chip bag. It stuck to the stick, so I shoved it in the garbage bag. A bunch of sand poured out of it, and I involuntarily shivered. Why did it have to be sand that poured out? Why not a fish with no tail, or a crab that was missing a limb? But no, it had to be sand, which reminded me of Gaara. That guy creeped me out. But hey, at least he paid attention to me. Not the kind of attention I'd want from that kind of guy, but. Stop it, Naruto. I cannot think like that. But it's true, he is paying attention to me, unlike Sasuke. What about last night? Sasuke paid plenty of attention to me then. But this morning he was probably just embarrassed. Nothing to worry about. My eyes snapped open and I froze. Wow, I just had a conversation with myself and I didn't even realize it. I must have been thinking really hard to be able to do something like that and not realize it. I once again focused on my surroundings and I was shocked to see that I was in the middle of the woods. I looked back over my shoulder and I could faintly make out where the stream was. I must not have been concentrating on where I was going that much. I was about to turn around and go back when I felt a slightly familiar chakra. I froze in fear when I realized that it belonged to Gaara. Frantically, I looked around, trying to figure out where he was. I dropped the bag and the stick when two arms circled me from behind. I tried to turn my body around so that he would lose his grip on me, but he was too quick. The arms held me to his chest so fast that all I could do was stand there, blankly staring ahead. A small flash of crimson hair was visible in the corner of my eye as a face was buried into my neck. He was doing it again. Why couldn't he just leave me alone? My hands came up and tried to pry his arms off of me, but his grip was too strong. I hated being weak. Sweet Kitsune, he mumbled. I want you so badly. The sudden warmth on my ear sent me into shivers. My hands remained on his arms, but the grip tightened. I needed to get him off of me. Now, I feebly started to struggle. This made him chuckle. Why do you resist? He said lowly. I will have you, regardless. He kissed the side of my face and something hard was pressed against my ass. I was confused at first, but my eyes widened as I realized that it was his. My first instinct kicked in. I panicked. How old was this guy anyway? He was like 12, right? He shouldn't be getting a dear Kami-sama. Why is this happening to me? A pain on the side of my neck caused me to cry out. I squeezed my eyes shut in attempt to block out what was happening. The stupid son of a bitch bit me. What the hell? Something warm was running down onto my shoulder, and what I guessed was his tongue was lapping it up. 'Cause I mean, what else was all tongue like? Holy shit, I wanna go home. My struggles picked up again as he continued to lick up my neck and face. Gaara, I cried. Let me go. He only continued licking me. A twig snapped to the left of me. Gaara's tongue stopped halfway up my neck and I could feel him look over to where the sound came from. His arms loosened and then released me. I slumped to the ground, whimpering. Dear God, why am I so weak? I closed my eyes and put my head down. I could feel the tears running down my face. Why was I so weak? Couldn't I take care of myself? Did I need to rely on others that much? I'm so useless. No wonder Gaara chose me. I faintly heard Gaara growl behind me. Obviously something was making him a little angry. He said something and then I lost the feel of his chakra. I then heard footsteps coming towards me from the other way, crunching the dead leaves as they quickened. I felt someone put their hands on my shoulders and shake me. I heard a voice too. Naruto, are you okay? Naruto, talk to me, please. I knew that voice. Sasuke, I cried. My head snapped up and I looked at him dead in the face. He was kneeling beside me, his eyes holding an unusual glint, almost as if he was worried about me. It would be so nice if he actually was worried. And then no more of this rivalry stuff. I stared hard at his chin. Sasuke, I said again, this time a little more quiet. Gaara, he was. I couldn't get out of his grip on me. I didn't know what to do. I stopped as I looked into his eyes again. They held a strange glow to them, one I hadn't really seen before. It looked almost angry. The angry look faded somewhat as he reached over and stroked along my neck, where the bite mark was. I flinched and his hand pulled back. He pulled me up off the ground and stared at me in the eyes. It was really intense. Naruto, he said, I promise you, I will protect you from Gaara. I looked up at him, shocked. I swear it. Did he just? He did. He just said that he'd protect me from Gaara. I smiled up at him gratefully. I knew that if I was in my right mind, I would have yelled at him for insisting that I needed protection from anything. But right now, I felt like, I don't know actually. I really just don't know. / Rin. Another prime example that Naruto is gonna be acting like a little girl in this fic. Yami Rin. Oh, come on, you cannot honestly tell me that you didn't have fun on this chapter. Rin, if you say you didn't, you have to be lying. _. Rin. All you enjoyed was the Naruto angst, _*, and here are the review answers of last chapter. I hope they don't get cut out. Percent. Mori and Alexander. Rin. Hee hee ha. Breath of sunshine. _, that one really made my day. Continues to giggle. Jiro. Yami Rin. Yes, now that I've read over Sasuke's chapter, I really think that he's OOC. Shrugs, what can you do? Anyway, thank X. Anime lass. Rin. I don't really know as to why we put it before the Chunin exams. Just did, I guess. Zephyr Wind. Yami Rin. This here is Rin's cousin. She's just like Rin in every way, except for the fact that in a little, which Naruto character are you? Quiz. She was Sasuke and Rin was Naruto. Anyway, thank X Zephyr. Ginji Ban. Rin. I'm glad you liked it, Ginji-chan. _Ban Chan too. Tenshinii-chan. Yami Rin. I wanna see how we develop this plot too. Heh, cause I have absolutely no idea as to what Rin has planned. I'm only her Yami, after all. Is being sarcastic on the Yami bit. Kanzaki. Rin. It is cute, isn't it? It was supposed to be an angst fic, but it turned into this. _. Whoopsie. Lily Day. Yami Rin. Well, as you can see, what's happening with the three is beginning to have a plot. But only starting to. Keisha. Yami Rin. He's gonna be. How shall I put this? A little bit pissed off, I'd say. X3. Muchacha. Rin. Yes, sissy Naruto. But isn't he just so kawaii? I should have him as a little ad in thingy in the author's notes. Goes into deep thought. Which is really hard for a girl such as Rin. Firedragon 97 Yami Rin. They'd better not do a horrible dubbing job, laughing face grr. Yes, anyway, Firedragon 97, please update your fic, A Twist of Fate, pretty soon. Please. 3. Laughing face Rin. Cool pen name. Thankies. Iceheart 19 Yami Rin. Really? You think Sasuke was IC? Wow, I didn't think anybody would. _. Dreamsprite 1 Rin. I'm not sure if this is longer or not, but, hey. At least I found someone who's like me. Vin. Yami Rin. Thanks. I love Pockies. Twa ha ha. Woofy Louver. Rin. Yes, another point for Sasuke. But, Gaara will get a few points, too. Eventually. _. Gelfling. Yami Rin. 'Tis sad that it's only a one-sided Garix Naruto. We might be tempted to write an actual Garix Naruto fic one day. Dreamily sighs. XX Karenax. Rin. Giggles yeah. Yet another person who's like me. X3WAH. Jekyll. Yami Rin. I love stuff like that too. Just never thought that I'd be writing one. Typing one. Kanji. Rin. Yes. Shaman King is coming to Fox in the fall. On September 6th to be exact. I'm so excited. XDDDDDD. Mwah. Yami Rin. Heh, the demon typos were my bad. Sheepish look. Tammy 14 Rin. Why thank you. And I most definitely will. Heh, that sounded kinda corny. Percent. Rin. Well, there you have it. This time, they better not get erased. Yami Rin. Or there will be hell to pay. Sissy Naruto. Who is really just a chibi, wussy Naruto Why does Gaara pick on me so much? Yami Rin. Is shocked that Rin actually put him in here faints. Rin. Huggles sissy Naruto don't worry, your big strong Sasuke will save you. Starts bawling big anime tears that go everywhere. Sissy Naruto. _. Rin. Sniffs sissy Naruto, say the line like I taught you. Please. Sissy Naruto. Sure. Takes a big breath please review. Smiles happily. Rin. Ident he kawaii. Thank you to Muchacha for the idea. And, as he said, please review.